let's just dive right into this explainer, shall we? Today, we're unpacking a really chilling concept, the invisible, completely silent battlefield of a purely online world war. We're stepping away from those classic battlefields of the past and looking straight at the front lines of the future. And frankly, those front lines are probably running right through the device you're using to watch this right now. It's a fascinating, but yeah, pretty terrifying shift in how global conflict actually operates. I mean, think about it. What exactly do you picture when you hear the words World War III? For most of us, our minds just automatically go straight to physical destruction, right? We picture troops crossing borders, tanks rolling down city streets, the night sky lit up with missiles, the whole kinetic, explosive nightmare. But what if we completely pivot away from that imagery? What if the next major global conflict has literally zero visible explosions? No radar warnings, no soldiers in uniform. The reality we're exploring today is an entirely different, entirely invisible threat. We really have to strip away this Hollywood myth that a digital conflict would just be, some clean, bloodless video game played by a few coders hiding in dark rooms. The harsh reality? It's an invisible, highly asymmetrical conflict. And the most crucial takeaway here is that everyday civilian infrastructure, the stuff you and I use daily, that is the actual target. The battlefield completely shifts over to our global network architecture. The invisible lines connecting our power plants, our banks, our grocery supply chains, those become the ultimate front lines.
Section 1. Anatomy of a Digital Strike.
So let's look at how the opening salvos actually play out. If a geopolitical superpower decides to launch an attack today, they're not going to aim at a military base. No way. They bypass all that and replace kinetic artillery with weaponized code, aiming it squarely at the highly interconnected, super fragile nervous system of modern civilization. We're talking about three main front lines: public utilities, logistical asphyxiation, and the valuation wipeout. Basically, if you take down these three pillars, society just halts. Let's break down exactly how each of these strikes would work, starting with utilities. The weapon of choice here is what's called a logic bomb. These are advanced, self-replicating malware strains. Just imagine that famous Stuxnet virus, but scaled all the way up to a planetary level, specifically designed to sneak into industrial control systems. A coordinated strike using these logic bombs? It could instantly shut down massive regional electrical grids. It could completely desynchronize water treatment facilities or freeze automated gas pipelines. We are literally talking about plunging entire populations into the cold and dark instantly, without a single physical bullet ever being fired. Which brings us to a really stark number: 48. Specifically, 48 hours. That's the terrifying reality of what experts call logistical asphyxiation. See, our modern supply chains completely rely on automated inventory tracking, digital manifests, GPS-guided shipping fleets, the whole shebang. By just corrupting the root-level databases of major ports and distribution networks, an adversary paralyzes the movement of food, fuel, and medicine. Within just 48 hours of scrambling that data, deep systemic scarcities start taking hold all across the globe. And then we have the third front line, the valuation wipeout. Financial infrastructure is a massive target. Imagine malicious algorithms specifically deployed to attack central banking ledgers. Their only goal? To erase transactional histories and completely shatter global payment routing protocols. The instant you freeze those commercial exchanges, you see a total liquidation of digital wealth. Without the ability to route payments digitally, modern economies would just instantly snap back to localized barter systems. Actually, think about that. Your digital bank balance would effectively cease to exist. Just gone. Section 2. New rules of engagement. This shift from the physical Earth to the digital grid completely upends traditional military strategy. I mean, the old laws of war, they just don't apply in this invisible ether. In classic kinetic world wars, your primary weaponry was missiles, armor, and human infantry hitting military installations. But today, we're dealing with advanced malware, logic bombs, and AI swarms actively targeting data repositories and critical infrastructure. Because of this, the collateral damage shifts completely away from localized physical ruin to widespread, systemic societal collapse. The whole defense blueprint has to evolve. The old playbook of physical deterrence is obsolete. You literally cannot build a concrete wall to stop a logic bomb. It's entirely replaced by the need for cryptographic resilience, zero-trust network setups, and air-gapped system isolation. Section 3. The Fog of Cyber War. Okay, so when the battlefield is an entirely invisible network, just figuring out who you're actually fighting becomes this impossible puzzle. In a physical war, radar tracks a missile right back to its launch pad. You know exactly who did it. But in a pure cyber war, who fired the first shot? It's the ultimate terrifying question. Without physical radar tracks or visible troops, global geopolitics turns into this massive, terrifying hall of mirrors. Attribution becomes an absolute nightmare. And that brings us to this crucial concept of deep anonymity. A catastrophic attack on a nation's financial hub can easily be masked behind a crazy labyrinth of decentralized proxy servers. But it gets even wilder. Attackers can intentionally seed their malware with false flag code signatures. Basically, they leave little snippets of code specifically designed to frame an entirely innocent third-party country. So after a devastating strike, no one can definitively prove the attack's true origin. Retaliation just becomes a highly dangerous guessing game. Section 4. The silent toll. Up to this point, we've been talking about massive global systems and high-level geopolitics. But let's bring it back to you. We need to look at the psychological toll this kind of systemic paralysis takes on everyday civilians. Imagine the rise of the splinter net. In response to a total digital war, governments would heavily fragment or completely lock down communications just to preserve bandwidth for emergency infrastructure. The result is profound isolation. Independent creators, your favorite news networks, digital media channels, completely cut off. The internet splits into fiercely guarded, nationalized zones, and the flow of reliable info just dries up, leaving the public entirely in the dark. Honestly, living through an online world war means navigating a completely surreal reality. It's a haunting juxtaposition. You look out your window, and everything looks perfectly intact. The buildings are standing tall, the roads are clear, there's absolutely no smoke in the sky. Yet, under the surface, the functional systems that actually make modern life possible have just quietly stopped working. The water, the heat, the money, the communications, completely dead. It's this slow, grinding, almost silent form of existential paralysis. Which brings us to a really chilling final realization. This perfectly encapsulates a profound truth of our technological evolution. By building this incredibly efficient, hyper-interconnected digital world, we have accidentally constructed the most vulnerable battlefield in human history. Every single smart device, every automated grid, every digital transaction is a potential front line. It really makes you pause, doesn't it? Just how secure are those deeply connected devices you're relying on right now, every single day?